Last time, we went over how to subtract fractions that had the same denominator. The process is fairly straightforward. If the denominators are the same, you keep that denominator and subtract the numerators. If needed, you reduce or simplify the fraction. Today we're going to go over what you do when you need to subtract fractions that have different denominators. If you have watched my video on adding fractions with different denominators, the process is exactly the same, except you are subtracting. If you want to check out that video after this one, I'll drop a link in the description. Let's get started with a few examples. Take the fractions 3 over 9 minus 1 over 6. Subtracting fractions is simple when you have the same denominators, but we don't have that in this case. So let's get them both into equivalent fractions so we can subtract them easily. We can create equivalent fractions by looking for the least common multiple between the two denominators. Let's write out a few multiples of both 9 and 6 to see which one we can use. The multiples of 9 are 9, 18, and 27. Multiples of 6 are 6, 12, and 18. Looks like we can use 18 as our new denominator. Let's convert 3 over 9 to some number over 18. In order to get 18, we would have to multiply the denominator of 9 times 2, so we would also have to multiply 3 times 2, because what you do to the top, you must also do to the bottom. 3 times 2 is 6. Our first fraction is converted to 6 over 18. For our second fraction, we can convert it to an equivalent fraction of something over 18 by multiplying 6 times 3. Since we multiply the denominator by 3, we must also multiply the numerator by 3 to get an equivalent fraction of 3 over 18. Since both of our fractions are now rewritten into a format where they both have the same denominator, we can subtract the numerators. 6 minus 3 equals 3 over 18. We can look at that fraction and see that 3 goes into 18. So if we divide 3 by 3 and 18 by 3, we get 1 over 6. Adding and subtracting fractions with different denominators follow the same steps, and those steps are: find the new denominator by looking at the lowest common multiple and convert to equivalent fractions. Subtract the numerators and simplify if needed. Let's look at our next example. 2/3 minus 1/5. We have different denominators again, so we need to write down some multiples of each denominator so that we can convert them both to equivalent fractions. The multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15. And the multiples of 5 are 5, 10, 15. Our least common multiple is going to be 15, so that becomes our new denominator. Take the first fraction of 2/3. We are trying to get our denominator to be 15, so 3 times 5 equals 15. Since we multiply the denominator by 5, we must also multiply the numerator by 5, and we get 10 over 15 as our new equivalent fraction. Let's look at 1/5. In order to get our denominator to be 15, we have to multiply the denominator by 3. Since we multiply the denominator by 3, then we will also have to multiply the numerator by 3. 3 times 1 equals 3, so our new equivalent fraction is 3 over 15. Now we can take our newly stated equivalent fractions of 10 over 15 and subtract 3 over 15 to get a total of 7 over 15. The only factors that 7 and 15 have in common is 1, so there's no way to reduce this even further. Our next fractions, 2 over 6 minus 1 over 4. Let's start looking at our denominators and find the lowest common multiple. The multiples of 6 are 6, 12, and 18. And multiples of 4 are 4, 8, and 12. Looks like 12 is the one we're going to go with. So let's convert both of these to equivalent fractions using the denominator of 12. We convert our first fraction to an equivalent by multiplying the denominator by 2. We then multiply our numerator by 2, and we get 4 over 12. The denominator in our second fraction of 4 goes into 12 3 times. So we multiply our numerator times 3, and we get 3. Our new equivalent fraction is 3 over 12. We now have two equivalent fractions of 4 over 12 and 3 over 12. And when we subtract 3 from 4, we get 1 over 12, which is already in its simplest form. Remember, if you're having trouble finding the lowest common multiples or simplifying fractions, I'll drop the links to those videos in the description below so you can watch those also. Our next example to walk through. 3 over 4 minus 1 over 16. No common denominators, so we can look at the multiples of 4 and 16, but I can tell you right off the bat that I know 16 is a multiple of 4, so we can save us some time and just set our fractions over the denominator of 16. We convert our first fraction of 3/4 into some number over 16, and we do that by multiplying 4 times 4. Since we multiply the denominator by 4, we must also multiply the numerator by 4, and we get 3 times 4 equals 12. Our new equivalent fraction is 12 over 16. We don't have to convert our second fraction to anything, it stays the same, since it already has a denominator of 16. We take 12 over 16 minus 1 over 16, and our result is 11 over 16. This fraction is also already in its simplest form. We've walked through 4 examples of how to subtract fractions with different denominators. If you would like some more examples to practice, head on over to improvedmath.com and grab a worksheet. I always include an answer sheet too, so you can check your work. If you're getting the hang of it, hit that thumbs up for me, and I'll see you back here next time. Thanks for watching.